Good morning. Our hand today is going to be Ace Jack. So in this hand, we've got a early position player open raises. He's playing 28-15. Um, we look at raise first in. It's about 20%, 25% cutoffs, a little bit higher at 39, but the button's at 23. I'm guessing he is raising first in. It's about between 20 and 25%, maybe closer to 25%. Of hands. So if we look at his hands here, this is 22.8, so almost 23. That's probably appropriate. We could give him all of these broadways and get rid of some of these suited gappers, but I'm just gonna leave it like this. I did include the King 10 as opposed to the Jack 10 off. We can always adjust it later, make notes about how this player plays a little bit later. This does seem to be pretty wide when we think about his range. And then it folds around to us. Now I have this range as my calling range versus an early position raiser. I think this is maybe off. So with our ace jack hand, that's a real concern. I think that ace jack probably is a raise or a fold versus this player's range. He's got such a large range of hands here that, you know, typically against early position players, they should be playing tighter. This is a looser player, so I think we kind of start to expand what our ranges are. If we look at some of the GTO ranges, you know, yeah, I have ace jack in my button raise first in stat, but I don't have it as part of my three better call. So it's suggesting the ace jack is a fold versus an early position player, and I wouldn't call this guy tight at all. But if you go to versus mid position, you can see that ace jack does fall into my three better call range. I think with this player, given that he is in like the last of the early positions, we could probably go ahead and three bet here to try to isolate, to get heads up with this player. If he folds, he folds. But I think that's probably a little bit better than a call, which might then encourage villain 5 and 6 to come along. So while this was the range that I was working on at the time, I'm sure this was the range that I was working on at the time, I think we should probably three bet here with ace jack. If I look at it today, you know, I'd probably still look down at some of the hand charts and say, what do I do with them? And probably still, you know, lean towards folding. But I know I have to increase my three betting ranges and my three betting frequency, especially three bet bluffs. And I think this is one because if I get called, I do have ace. I've got Broadway. Yeah, I would rather have it suited, but versus a player this loose or who could be playing up to 25% of hands, I think this a three bet is appropriate. So I did call and big blind calls. So what is the big blind doing this with? He's got 25-13. I didn't even work out the big blind. I didn't get that far. But big blind's paying 38%. We need to look at the call, 44%. He's going to be a pretty darn wide range too. Just, you know, setting up 44.5% looks something like that. That we'll just go with it. It's going to be a wide range. It's going to be a wide range, and hopefully he ends up folding so we get him out of the hand. Flop comes down ace queen 7. So ace of hearts, queen of diamonds, 7 of clubs. That hits us. I do expect big blind to be checking here. Villain 1 bets. Now his c-bet stats aren't too crazy. It's about 60%. Doesn't look like he's paying attention to position, so more likely to check when out of position, more likely to c-bet when in position. So I think he's probably doing this with his gut shots. He's probably doing this with his pairs. His 2-card backdoor flush draws, probably not all of them, but I think this board hits. You have to assume that if you raise pre-flop, he does have aces in his range, so I think aces are all going to be playable. I think pocket pair below the second card is possibility. Bottom pair is questionable. So I think 8s, 9s, 10s, jacks probably doing it. And if he doesn't have those, then he's doing it with some bluffs. So maybe like king, you know, king jack, king 10, hands like that. So we can let's select our 2-card backdoor flush draws and say, okay, we're gonna have like king jack and king 10. We're gonna put jack 10 in there. We're gonna do jack 9 maybe. No, we'll leave those as 2-card backdoor flush draws. And with our no made hands, we're going to include just these offsuit king jacks. I guess I probably didn't even need to have the 2-card backdoor flush draw, but something like that. I think that's probably appropriate for a c-bet range. And here I think is where I made the mistake. I just called. I think I should just raise. I've got top pair. We're 3-way. I don't want to call and encourage, a king 10 to call, even though we're ahead. I want to take the lead. I want the ability to check behind on a scare card. Obviously, I think any ace is going to still call. We have a jack kicker. We could be behind ace queen, but with an ace and a queen out there, and me having an ace, it reduces the possibility that they have them. So I think we're probably more likely to get a call because somebody doesn't believe us right now, so we have a chance of winning extra bets now than if we call and then they check to us on the turn and we bet. They can just dump their king jack, king 10. They could dump their pocket 10s, pocket 9s, pocket 8s, all of those. So I actually prefer a raise at this point now. I think that's raising the top pair, and it helps with our raise c-bet stat. So I'm going to say for us, we're going to be raising top pair. I think we're raising 2 pair. I think we're raising set. I think we can call with middle pair. I think we call with pocket pair below the second card, maybe. I think middle pair's calling. That's interesting. I think the jack, maybe it's 50%. Maybe 50%. I think the gut shot could be probably call. We have value to see the next hand. Same thing, 2-card backdoor flush draws. We have value to see the next hand. So I am going to take out ace queen and ace jack for a 2-card backdoor flush draws. What about big blind? We'll give him the gut shot. I think we will give him the pairs. He does seem like he would fold to a continuation bet, so I think we're going to be top pair, maybe pocket pair below the top card. I should actually take those out. I kind of assume kings plus would have raised. I actually think middle pair is probably just going to fold. Pocket pair, top pair is going to call, maybe the gut shot, something like that. Definitely skewed towards top pair. All right, so then we see a turn. This 3 doesn't really turn anything, or it doesn't really change anything. I think if I'm ahead, I'm still ahead. I think this is part of the reason why if we raise, we get, I think ace 10, ace 9 calls. I think the king queen calls, queen jack calls at that point. I'm not sure if they call again here on the turn. So, we're talking about building up, not necessarily building a massive pot, but try to get some value from our top pair hand. So villain 6 checks. I think he's still going to be checking with everything. And then villain 1 checks. And that is where I think we have some issues. So once he checks, I'm discounting sets 2 pair and probably most of the top pairs here. Maybe he has, like ace with a weak kicker. But at this point, I think he is looking at anything less than an ace, maybe even kings. I think he is definitely going to be weak, which then checks us. I think we missed our opportunity to raise. So now we've got middle pair, pocket pair less than the second card. Our concern is villain 6. I don't see any reason why he would have called with a queen, so I assume he's going to have ace, which means we're basically going to be checking 100% of our range here. And again, not because we have the ace. I'm checking because we shouldn't have had the ace. We should have middle pair, pocket pair less than the second card. We called. We got surprised by his call. We're behind. We're just gonna hope that we can connect somehow on that river. So we check behind. The river's a 7 of spades. You know, pairs the board. Again, I don't think anyone has that 7. Villain 6 leads. Once villain 6 leads, I do give him credit for top pair plus. I think it's going to be heavy on the top pair. Do I think he's going to be doing it with all of the top pair? Maybe. I'm going to say if he doesn't do it with everything, then we're looking at something probably like that. Ace 9, ace 10, maybe ace 8. Maybe he does do that with everything. But we're looking at, you know, of that range, 75% is, you know, top pair. And of those, there's really only 12 combos, ace king, that we're scared of, but it's not true 12 because we have an ace, so that cuts 3 more aces out. So we're looking at 9 combos total of ace king plus. Let's see if we can change. Yeah, 9 plus. Geez, even fewer than 9. Of course, I'm gonna say we've got yeah, he's got full house. Not full 9 for the full house, but definitely he's got a lot more of these top pair hands. Then he has a better hand, so we can't really fold at this point. We need 33% equity, 25% equity to make this call. We're basically 3-1. Villain 1 folds. I think when he folds here, it's pretty clear he doesn't have anything. He was probably just taking a stab at the pot with that c-bet missed, and he's doing that because the flop is favorable to his range, not so much to my calling range. And I think that's also why I think raising could have been good, because you don't really expect to see an ace king, ace jack. I think king jack could be in our range, 10 jack could be in our range. I think we're going to elicit more calls on the flop if we raise than if we just call and it goes check check and we bet. And I think people are just going to kind of fold, or have the ability of folding if they don't have any sort of hand whatsoever. So it's on us. Of course, here we're going to go under the assumption that we have one of these weaker hands, and I think we just fold. It's a possibility that he's bluffing us, but given his range, and you know, when you see his fold c-bet stat 17% when out of position, he's not just calling just to call, especially with a cold caller already on the flop. He's got a hand, so I think we have to call here with our ace jack. But if we had our range where we were what we should have just called, as opposed to raising, then I think it's a fold. We called. We see a river showdown. He shows ace jack. Is that in his range? I believe it is. Well within that top pair. I wish we saw what this villain has, but villain 6 definitely has that. So we have over limp and hijack with jack off, jack 6 off. We could add another note that he calls pre-flop raise from big blind with ace jack, but I think most players probably do that. I think if anything, it's good to mention that he's doing this with or from the big blind versus an early position raiser. So overcall in big blind with ace club jack spades. versus EP, RFI, and button call. So just additional information as we encounter this player again. So hopefully you enjoyed the saying. If you do, look tomorrow for another one.